Hey, I am back with you once again for a quick episode here on Back to the Past. I am Blair. Haven't been around much lately because of this doggone arm and the surgery that I had back a little over a month ago. I did pre-record a few episodes back in December that you may have seen in January without the sling. Here I am with the sling. Now, just because I'm in this and haven't recorded anything doesn't mean that I've done absolutely nothing. I've actually been somewhat busy and probably held up more by the weather than by the use of just one arm, because there's plenty to be done with the use of just one arm. I think this episode I will probably show you a little bit of what I've done, kind of what my plan is for the future, and then I'll probably take some time off until I can get into some real production, which may be a month or two away, and hopefully the sling will be gone by then. Stick around and we will talk a little more about it. I started this channel back in November of 2020, so it's been over 5 years that I've been doing it, and so far the money that I have made doing it is absolutely zero. I have not generated enough interest to get enough hours of watching. I've not generated enough interest to have enough people subscribe, and I've spent several hundred hours probably just in editing, and certainly by the time I add in the actual recording, yeah, I'm well over that. And I've said before that only a fool keeps doing the same thing over and over and expects different results. And I've probably been that fool over that period of time. I'd really hoped to have some supplemental retirement income in doing this YouTube channel, but so far the only person or the only corporation that's made a single dime out of it is YouTube, because you have to be interrupted or watch the ads and such, and the only one that's making any money on that is YouTube, not me. When I do come back, I will have two main projects that I'll be working on. Number one, which will be part of a several-year project, will be to restore the old cabin, tear out everything that is bad on it, and replace it with something good, and hopefully restore the old part of the cabin back to somewhat what it looked like in the 1800s. And then the addition that I will end up putting on will be something very comfortable for me, and I will end up moving back into at some point in life. Now, I decided originally to name this channel Back to the Past because I knew there would be a lot of past that we could look at when we get into working on the cabin. And I realized there hasn't been an awful lot of that going on, other than to try to make my new construction look somewhat old. I'm hoping that generates more interest, but probably once I kick off and get started again, if things aren't looking after a few months like I'm going to ever be able to make any money at this, I'll probably go ahead and just delete the channel. So tell your friends, hopefully do anything you can to help me out with that interest. Okay, let's take a quick walk around and take a look at what I've been doing for the past month or month and a half. Now, the old cabin, even though it's definitely not in any decent shape at all, it has been dry in a good part of it, at least the part with the steep pitch roof. And I've had a couple rooms here that I have had just completely full of supplies, really very disorganized, and I've been working now for the past month, at least when the weather's nice, to be able to get this cleaned out a little bit. So I got this room emptied out, and then the second room emptied out. And in this room, some of that paneling I'm actually going to try to save and use for wainscoting when I get to working on the new building on the back here. So we got a ceiling and walls that are of this material, so I will see if I can remove it in decent enough shape that I can reuse some of that. Here we are in the junkiest part of what was a new addition back in the 1960s. This flat roof has been leaking, and as you can see, most of the logs that we're looking at there are rotten and will have to be replaced. Now this paneling, there may be a little bit of it that I can save. It's the same paneling as in that entryway, that middle room, but I really don't expect to be able to save much in here. And we are in the flat roof part of the addition that was built in the 60s, still here in what was a kitchen area, what was a dining room area. There's a utility room back there. I have a lot of lumber stored in here, and most of this lumber has managed to stay dry even though the roof has been leaking in this particular part. So I still need to clean this area out. And then once I do, then I'm ready to tear into the outside of this building. Everything that I've done on this property, I've done as a plan. Now, everything that was in the cabin needed to go somewhere, and that somewhere is in this shed, which is a very good area for dry storage. It's not heated or anything, but neither was the cabin, so it should work well for that. Now, before I could use this, I had to do something with the lawn equipment that I had in there. I had a wood splitter and a couple of lawnmowers. I used to keep my side-by-side in there. They all had to be cleaned out before I could move stuff from the cabin in there. Where they went is that area that you may have seen in another episode, near the solar panels where I built that roof over the top of it, the clear roof. So that's an area that's not totally dry storage, but it is dry enough and protective enough that I could store lawn equipment there. Okay, so this shed now has become my dry storage area for everything that was in the cabin. I went ahead and I built some good heavy-duty shelves in the back of this here that is tied into the roof. It's tied into the walls, not so much into the floor. I didn't want to overload the floor in here and be able to use so I could still continue to use the main floor area here for storage, and I could weight it down as much as I needed to. I built those shelves, and then I put up some of the modular shelves, which were actually just moved from other places. And then I was able to do a lot of sorting, which really helped me. I spent an awful lot of time doing that. It was an easy one-arm job. Now, most of these plastic containers are really, really heavy. And in order to be able to get them to where they are, I obviously, with one arm, couldn't lift them into place. So what I did was to put in the plastic container on the shelf and then load it individually one piece at a time. So that was a pretty time-consuming process. But at least I think that when I get to using all this stuff again, when I'm working on the new addition and remodeling the cabin, it'll make things a little bit easier to find. Now, once I tear out this flat roof addition, I will be building a new addition on the back of it that will actually extend toward where we are standing another 6 feet. Now, you can see that really drainage was pretty poor around this building the way it was, and another 6 feet is only going to make that worse. So this area here is going to take an awful lot of regrading, which is something that I can actually do really before I am fully healed, because I have managed to operate my tractor now, at least the loader part of the tractor. And then this honeysuckle tree, it's going to come out completely. I really, really hope that I can save that old walnut tree. It is getting so old and starting to lose so many branches and such that it may end up dying not long after I build the addition, which will be a real shame. I'll have to plant another tree there. Now, I have spent most of the past year in building this doggone carport, but now at least I got a place for my grandma's old car and for me to park my truck. The old barn that you see behind it there, I don't really have any plans for it. I would like to be able to save it. There's some roof leaks in that's going to cause more deterioration. It's kind of a cool old thing, and it's been there for a long time. I'd like to preserve it, but it's really very low on my priority list right now. And under that white tarp is this year's firewood storage that I put away prior to my shoulder surgery. I wanted it to be convenient to my back door so that I could get at it easily enough with the use of just one arm. So far I haven't touched the wood. I have been able to continue using last year's firewood, and I've got it almost used up now. One of this year's project then will be to put in a new firewood storage area that would be right next to it. And I thought what might look just simply spectacular is an old outhouse. So what I will do is to build something that appears to be an old outhouse. It'll have a louvered back to it. The sides will be finished just like I've finished everything else on the property with the board and batten finish. But the back of it will have a louvered finish to be able to allow air circulation, and I think will look pretty outstanding when it's finished. I had really hoped this year to be able to get all of my pear and apple trees trimmed and pruned to where they're a little more effective at putting out large fruit instead of so darn much of it. And in order to do that, now you can see where I've actually got the bottom half of it, everything that I can reach, looking pretty doggone good. But when we get up a little higher, it is pretty trashy looking. What I'm going to spend my day today doing is to try to get up about another 3 feet or so in the trees. I've got my step ladder set up in the back of my pickup truck, and I've actually got it strapped in place so it can't move. I've been real hesitant so far to work off of a ladder with my shoulder in its current condition, but I think having something good and stable to work off of will help a lot. And if I can get another 3 feet into those trees, I think that I can have things looking much better too and be very productive this next fruit year. That's it for this episode, and I want to end by saying that I really, really appreciate those few loyal listeners that I've had for really almost since I started the channel. It really makes it seem like a worthwhile effort. I'm definitely not an entertainer. I wanted this to be an educational sort of channel. I spent over 50 years in construction, and I think I know about as much about the various types of construction as is possible. I think that so many YouTubers, it actually even disgusts me seeing how people do things so improperly and see an awful lot of failures, yet those YouTube channels have hundreds of thousands of listeners. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing wrong, but I am. So anyway, I'll see you in a couple months. Thank you for being here. Goodbye.